So Dan leaped from Bashan. What does Bashan mean? Okay. Bashan is a Hebrew word that means fertile. Okay? Meaning that the seed goes in, seed's gonna grow. It's gonna take root. Well, here they go saying, I can't even find it on here. Okay, I think I have it on the map over here. This is Bashan. Okay. So Dan, leaping from Bashan. Okay, here's Bashan. Now Dan's territory was right here with north of Judah. That's Dan's territory right here. Okay? So I can get this a little more crispy. So that's Dan's territory. Okay? East of west of Bethlehem, kind of north. Okay, so now Dan he ventured up to Bashan. Now he's at Bashan, look who his neighbors are in that whole area. You got Naphtali, Asher, Zebulun, and Issachar. If you go on the map right there, you have Asher's over here, Naphtali's down here, Zebulun is right here, and Issachar is over here.
Right.
So he's still kicking with the same people he was kicking with back in the day.
Right.
So he ain't come to America and get all brand new. Okay? He didn't come to America and get brand new on everybody. Okay, so where are we at? Bashan, right? So Dan leaped from Bashan, meaning Dan went from here and Dan went into the Caribbean and was doing a lot of mercantile and merchandise, not the Caribbean, but the Mediterranean. Okay? There's other verses. I don't think I have them on this breakdown. It talks about how Dan would go from their own place of living, and they were doing trade with some of the other tribes. Okay, they were doing trade with some of the other tribes of Israel also. I don't have it on there though. Asher, Naphtali. I get my Dan notes. Okay. Anyway, Dan. Asher. Dan. First tribe, Red Carib. Bashan is fertile. They left Bashan to the seacoast, etc. And they're water travel. That's why I say, why did Dan abide? Why did they stay in their ships? Okay. Now, how does that link up to what we read about South America and the Danites down there? How does that link up?
Because they always were traveling in ships, or
Where'd they start from?
From South America.
Right. And
And
what region of South America? What region in the continent of South America? Who remembers?
Northeastern.
No, the region. What's the region called? Began with an O.
Orinoco.
The Orinoco Delta. And the Delta is the fertile land, right?
Right.
What does fertile mean in Hebrew? Bashan. See? Same thing happened in the ancient world. Same thing happened over here. They left from that fruitful area of the Orinoco Delta, and they went on to where? Into the waters, into the islands. And it's like we read earlier, let me say something earlier, but they were expert, or they travel in the water like the Garifuna.
Yeah.
Okay. If I look up Garifuna, if you look, this land, water, and food are part of our existence. Seagoing tradition continues in the Coast Guard. The Garifuna, a seagoing. Okay. They settle in fishing villages. Okay. Now they talk about how the seagoing tradition continues by joining the U.S. Coast Guard. Okay, but it's telling you what? The point we're looking at is that they're telling you that they have a what? A seagoing tradition.
Right.
But they just continued it into the U.S. Coast Guard. Okay, show you how Dan, you know, he leaped from Bashan, but he also
Yeah.
deals in the waters.
What?
Okay.
No, I'm in the Bible study.
Okay, so while the Garifuna also served
Are
as
you ready to
strengthening
go?
diversity, blah blah blah. Okay.
Okay.
Let's see, sailors. Okay. The Garufuna's devotion to their maritime heritage as skilled sailors and fishermen uniquely sets them apart from other Caribbean groups. They carved canoes and etched boats from huge mahogany trees. They sailed the Caribbean without modern technology, were extremely resourceful, and possessed a strong will to survive. Continuing the tradition of their maritime heritage into Northern America, the first Garifuna migrated to the United Snakes as merchant marines after World War II. As immigration continued over the years, they joined the military and quickly adapted into the mainstream, helping to inextricably link their legacy to America's diversity. So once again, they dealing with water and dealing with seagoing vessels and have a maritime tradition. So it says he shall leap from Bashan. He went from that fertile area, okay, in the Caribbean, Orinoco Delta. This is from Stanford, by the way. This is from Stanford University. So he came from down here, went over here. Now they only showing a part of his migration from here to here. They focusing on the so-called black ones because the British forced them out. They're not focusing on the ones that went over into the other parts of these islands, the ones that are in Trinidad and the ones that are in Dominica.
Yeah.
Now, it was funny, all right. What's it called? Tet Shin. That's probably the last ones about this one. Once again, dealing with this snake theme again. Okay, this is Tet Shin Dominica. It's called Le Pau Tet Shin. Okay, now there's a story about the Tet Shin. Tet Shin means dog head. Okay? This skin once belonged to Tet Shin, the dreaded boa constrictor found in many parts of rural Dominica. The skinning of these snakes was very popular, but it has lost its appeal. So the mythology is this, that there was a snake called Tet Shin. Okay? There was a snake, and the snake was like a god, the snake king of the what? Galinago. Okay? Here's the and they have they wrote a book about, children wrote a book about it. Okay? The book is called The Snake King of the Kalinago. So once again, they associated with the snake. They esteemed the snake. It was written by students. Okay? It's a story of Bakwa, right down here. A great diamond crested snake with magical powers, which slithers out of the sea and goes to live in a cave in the mountains of Dominica. When Maruka, a Kalinago or Garifuna farmer, goes to see him, Bakwa uses his power to grant Maruka his wishes. Then strangers arrive and everything changes. The story is a retelling of the ancient Kalinago legend revolved around L'escalier Tet Shin, the staircase of the snake, a natural rock formation resembling a staircase that comes from out of the Atlantic Ocean onto the southern coast of Dominica. in the hamlet of Sinku or Seneku in the Carib territory. According to the Kalinago legend, it is a pathway made by an enormous snake, boa constrictor, a serpent, or techin, that emerged from the ocean. Okay? Now this is what the myth is. So once again, we have this what? Association with the snake, with the serpent, techin. Techin actually means dog head, I believe. Okay, I don't think it means boa constrictor. I think it means dog head, I believe. So this is what they part of them, and if you look at it, it does kind of have like a snake's shape coming from the water, like a dragon coming from the water. Then it opens up right there. Okay, so what the point is that this is part of the myth of what this thing is, and it links back up to the snake. Okay, the indigenous Dominica, the Caribs. Okay, through myth. Okay. Okay. His most impressive piece today is a complex wood carving called Legends, celebrating local tribal myths and legends. At the base of the carving is a great snake, which is said to have emerged from the sea at l'escalier Techin, staircase of the dog-headed boa, because Techin means dog head, doesn't mean snake. This is the guardian spirit of the Caribs, which can be invoked by burning an offering of tobacco in the forest of Sineku above the petrified staircase. Okay? At the head of the staircase, the carving of wrinkled figure of sorceress Bihi, who chased her daughters. So it's more witchcraft and stuff they're talking about. So the point is that Techin and the snake, okay, and the whole Garifuna and Kalinago legend goes back to the snake. It's Carib face, lady, boy, man. Okay. And they have, of course, they have different looks and different faces. Okay. Now remember, Kalinago. Now remember, Chatoye was a hero. Is a Carib hero.
Right.
Okay. But Chatoye is claimed by both people. Is Chatoye or Chayo? No, it's Chatoye. Okay. Now they call him Garifuna, but they call him Carib, who led a revolt against the British colonizers. Okay, he's considered national hero in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, also Belize, and other Carib countries who fought during the war. What they did, they sent messages through the whole Caribbean region, letting them know that we're going to fight against these people on this day. Okay? But then the British found out about it, and then they squashed the rebellion, and they killed the brother, right? They killed Chatoye. So that shows you just how the so-called black and red Caribs were working together, you know, all the way up into the late 1700s. Okay? So it's just different depictions of them, who these people are. Heroes Day, St. Vincent. I think she's also, now remember, what's interesting is that Dominica, remember, was Kalinago. Okay, but Chatoye, how they feel about him in Dominica? Park Chatoye. Now that's Dominica's flag.
Yeah.
Okay? So they have a park there, named after this brother. So meaning that the Kalinago in Dominica, they revere him as a hero also. So everybody respects him for what he was trying to do and what he did. We can't fast forward on this thing either. Okay? So that's all we were really using that to show. With Ovid and Dominica, you know, they have a lot of respect for him. Okay, Black Carib, St. Vincent. Okay? So now, going back to the paper, I like this one. Okay. So now, they leap from the Orinoco Delta, which is the fruitful delta area, to Trinidad and to other islands. Rich tropical soil, and they traded spice. They traded spice in Israel. When you look at the tribe of Dan, in ancient Israel, they were trading spice. I can't think of the, I got the scripture. This is notes I wrote off the top of my head a little while, it's like a couple of years ago. So the exact reference I got them from, I got to go back and dig through them and find them. But they traded spice in ancient Israel. One of the places they went to, called Grenada or Grenada, is called Spice Island. That's what they call it. If you put in Spice Island right now, Grenada's going to come up. That's what they call it. See, Spice Island Beach Resort, Grenada, West Indies. Spice Islands, Zanzibar Archipelago, formerly called Spice Island, Grenada, Spice Island Tea House. Let's see images they give us for them. They got Indonesia. They have Grenada. So we know we in the Western Hemisphere, not the Eastern Hemisphere. So we'll take Grenada over the Indonesia references. Okay. Okay, so they call it Spice Island. They traded. The snake in the path is an adder in the way. You got dragon's mouth, and then you got serpent's mouth, snake reference. Dominica, you have the boa constrictor. And Dominica also has one of the smallest snake species in the world, and that snake is blind. Then, of course, you have the story of Tetchen, which is French for dog head, which is the serpent legend we read about earlier. He came from the water and formed Dominica, or formed part of Dominica. He left the shape of a serpent and a snake's head in a rock formation called Tetchen. Now, the story was that the snake could also change into a man and grant petitions. Now you have Anguilla, which means a sea serpent, and then you have the which comes from Latin. You have the Bahamas, which has the Abacos Island, which is dust in Hebrew, Abac. And you have the lower part of the Abacos Island. There's a smaller island called Snake's Key. And then you have the Lucayo Carib over the Lucayo, which are also Bahamas is actually a Arawak word. No, I think it's a Carib word, Lucayo. I don't think Lucayo in Bahamas is from white clay. Lucayan people, original inhabitants, they were a branch of the Taino. Okay? Branch Taino who inhabited most of the Caribbean islands at the time. Lucayan were the first inhabitants of the American continent. Christopher Columbus. Spanish started seizing Lucayan as slaves within a few years of arrival. They removed from Bahamas by 1520. The name Lucayan is Anglicization of the Spanish word Lucayos, derived from the Taino Luku Kaidi, which the people use for themselves, which means people of the island. The Taino word for island, Caridi, became Cayo in Spanish, and Kai or Key in English, spelled key and American English. Now, the question though, why would you have people living on the island of Puerto Rico and on the island of Cuba, Yaquan, but then call themselves island people? Why didn't the Cubans and the Puerto Ricans call themselves island people? Because the Lucayo were hopping all around those islands over there. Okay, so it was a distinction between the practices that they had and the practices that the other groups had that was south of them, being the Puerto Ricans and the Cubans. Okay, because once again, this is going into the tribe of tribe of Dan. Okay. So now you have Lion's Whelp dealing with Judah also. That they were already here. Some were already here, and some stayed with Judah. Because remember, they divided up. Some went into the sea, or from their territory, and some stayed. Remember, some went into captivity.
Right.
Over it would in 722 BC under Shalmaneser, who took the Israelites from the northern part of Israel, brought them into Assyria, and then we came here into the Americas. Okay, centuries later.
Right.
Okay, settled, different areas. We started settling centuries later in North Central South America, and the Caribbean. Okay. So in 2016, let's do that one more time. All right, Sean, 33:10. Do 33:22 rather. Read. Dan is a lion's whelp, meaning that Dan is fierce, kind of warlike, and also identifying them as dwelling with Judah also, because the scripture also says in Genesis chapter 49 that Judah is a lion's whelp. So they were dwelling together in West Africa. But under Abu Bakari, Mansa Musa's brother, in the 1300s, they came over into the Americas. Okay? They came into the Americas, and when they came into the Americas, they settled mainly on the island of St. Vincent. Okay? So when they settled on the island of St. Vincent, what did they do? When they settled on the island of St. Vincent, they linked up with their brothers and sisters, because they knew they were over here. I don't believe that was the first time that our people started to travel from there to over here.
Right.
It's probably the first time that it was documented and written down, in history.
Right.
Okay, but in the 1300s, they were coming over here. Okay, and they're telling you right here that they started in the Amazon basin of the Orinoco in Guyana. What's wrong with you? What's your problem? You go upstairs and lay down. Stop crying. Okay, Shaw, you relax all of that. Okay, so that's the first time they actually documented that the brothers and sisters came over here from West Africa. But they were dwelling together in Israel. The tribes were together. Dan was right above Judah. Okay? Dan went up north. Some of them went up north and stayed in that territory. Some of them were in their old territory. And some of them went into the Caribbean. Into the Mediterranean, rather. Now, I'm not going to really go off into the Gypsies and some of the Scottish and all of the other people being part of Dan also, because it doesn't fit as much into the Bible prophecies and to the geography and the location of Dan that we read about in the scriptures. So I can't really go off into all the other, that they were the Tinkers and they were some of the Romani people and all. I can't really go off into all that too tough right there. So Dan shall what? Leap from where?
He shall leap from Bashan.
So he's going to leap from the fruitful territory of the area where he was dwelling at. So they were in that Caribbean region, which was very fertile, and they went from the Caribbean region, which was fertile, the coastal area, and then they started to go off into all the other islands. Okay. Yeah, take off now.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about Dan is that Dan was never really on this side of the globe. Dan was never in hardcore captivities. Over here, he was oppressed and he was exiled from his islands.
And that was during the Assyrian captivity, right?
Right. They were in captivity under the Assyrians, but not over here. So a lot of people say, well, the Indians weren't in captivity, but they forget that they forget that the house of Israel was in captivity before the house of Judah went in captivity.
Right.
They act like what happened on the Eastern Hemisphere doesn't matter.
Right.
But we were in captivity on the Eastern Hemisphere, and then a lot of tribes were in captivity on the Western Hemisphere too. The Mexicans, Central America, Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Columbus was selling slaves to Puerto Rico. Okay, Columbus was taking the Taino as slaves
Yeah.
when he first got to the when he first got over to the island of Borinquen.
Yeah.
Okay, he was taking them people, you know, as slaves.
Right.
Okay. And he sold them over in Seville, Spain. Okay. So this is all historically documented. Okay. So they were working on an island for free too. Okay, you can look just a glimpse. Slavery and forced labor were not found in the Taino culture, but white people had it. 3 million people perished from the war, slavery, and the mines. Okay, he introduced Indian slavery, suggesting that it would be a lucrative, you know. So he's trying to say, but then Bartolomé de las Casas said, man, you can't do these people like this because they dying. So he said, let's get some. So then they got the Strongs, they got the other Israelites. But then when he saw they were getting treated, he said, nah, they shouldn't be slaves either.
Right.
Okay? So you have so many different things happening. You know what I mean? So we were slaves over here, this side and slaves on the east.
Right.
So when the white man came here, you know, he didn't bring slaves with him from West Africa.
Right.
So we went from West Africa to here, and then a lot of us left from over there, came here. Now, there's a lot of people over in West Africa still, in Mali, that know that they're Israelites.
Right.
But they got forced to convert to Islam, so they call themselves Muslim. Okay? They're more or less, they're still Islamic, following after Islam. Okay? All right.
Thank you.
Everything all right?
Yeah, everything's good. I just gotta pick him up. All right. See you later.
All right. Shalom. Just everybody got that? So it's interesting to look at the maps and stuff, but remember, I'm really kind of going off the top of my head right now. Okay, if we have more notes and stuff, I'll be able to go into, you know, a little more detail, but I don't have a bunch of excuse me. Kanye Kwani, I'll take over Dan. I'll be right back.
Hey, Juan, can you look at Deuteronomy 33 again?
Is that a yes or no? Yes? So Deuteronomy 33, 22 is Irish, can you read that?
And if Danny said Danny's a lion's whelp,
So a lion is like a
Hey, Juan, the stuff we didn't go over.
keep going actually.
he shall leap from the shot. And of Naphtali,
Is there anything before that of Dan? About Dan? Then, look at Genesis 49 then.
Where y'all at?
Deuteronomy 40, or Genesis 49.
Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Yashar'Allah. Dan shall be a serpent by the way, and adder in the path that biteth the horse's heels, so that his rider shall fall backward.
Anything else after that?
It says, I have waited for thy salvation, O Yahweh, O Yahweh.
Can you keep reading?
Gad,
Never mind. Is it Ezekiel? Is it Ezekiel?
I don't think so. I don't see it here either. I think Dan was with Katim also. They got some judges. That's Daniel. We're talking about Katim. Anybody got any questions about Dan? Uh-huh.
Nelson Nestor said that Dan was captured by the Africans and had hooked up with some African tribe called Dahomey in West Africa. And they were like a tribe that an African tribe that was really into voodoo. And that they associated themselves with them. Do you know anything about that?
Not really. I know that there's a god. Okay, Archie, you could be the type in Danbala right here. Danballa. No, it's all one word. Danballa. Balla. 2 L's. Go to number 2, Wikipedia. Right there. Or Dambala. I thought it was Danbala. Dambala or Dambala. It's a Lao, but it comes out of Dahomey. Put in Dahomey and Danbala. Go back. Can you type without looking? Right, you need to learn how to type without looking, man. Okay. Because they should autocorrect this. Put space. Space. Dahomey.
M-E-Y.
Uh-huh. Enter. Maybe they're corrected to Danbala. In the Dahomey, the god Danbala is envisioned as a snake, as a rainbow. So, but Danbala is mainly associated with Haiti right now, which is the tribe of Levi. But it's possible that Dan was over there in Dahomey, and they picked up some of them tendencies or learned some things from Dan and Dahomey, and because there was just a lot of witchcraft over in Dahomey. So Dahomey was into slave trade also. Okay, but in terms of whether or not that's the tribe of Dan, I would say the tribe of Dan was more over. They might have captured people from Dan, yeah. They could have captured people from Dan. The Danites now are often to a lot of they do a lot of witchcraft type ceremonies too.
Well, he was saying that a lot of the Danites are here in America.
No, that's not
And
true
they
though.
tried to associate
Black American.
Americans
Nah,
with
that's
Danites.
no, that's not true. You have to see how they leap from how did they leap from Bashan? How are they a serpent by the way? How do they judge themselves as one people? How are they alliance? Well, what's the relationship they have with Judah? Because